and welcome back to the Entertainment Vortex. Today we were at Brendan Theaters watching Hellfest. So watching the trailers for this film, it looks like some of your typical horror fare as you start to get closer to that October spooky, scary territory. I really enjoy this time of year for that specific reason. You get some really interesting takes on horror films. This one was a little more on the tropey side. It definitely falls into some of the same pitfalls that most of your typical horror schlock falls into. Sometimes you can get some really original concepts from these. This one kind of falls flat in a few places. It definitely tries to get you with some of those jump scares and doesn't really have a whole lot of tension built, which is unfortunate because when the tension's not built, the jump scares typically don't land. There wasn't really a whole lot of over-the-top reactions. You didn't hear any gasping or anything like that in the theater. And it was a pretty packed house. There, the theater was majorly full, and you just didn't see that big crowd reaction that you get from a really intense horror film. The concept itself is fairly interesting. It has this like amusement park feel to it, like when Universal Studios gets taken over for their horror nights. That sort of a feel, just kind of turned up a little bit of extra, a little more capability to actually get out and try to scare the inhabitants. There's talks of waivers and potentially being touched by some of the actors and all this interesting stuff. It tries to build a tension around these characters. The tension doesn't land the way that you want it to, but the atmosphere that this particular place creates is pretty excellent. A lot of really vibrant color schemes to kind of offset the mask that the main antagonist wears. It just has a really interesting flow as far as like when they go from place to place in this horror land kind of thing. Like I said, the concept itself is fairly original. I've heard that there have been films that have been released recently that have had a similar concept. So having not seen this other film that supposedly has a draw as far as originality is concerned, I didn't run into that as a problem personally. I am interested to check out some of these other films that are supposed to be similar as far as concept is concerned, just to see how much is really being taken and put into this other movie. The set designs and the actual costumes that a lot of the characters that are trying to scare people at Hellfest are concerned, those were all really well done. The makeup and the actual like concepts behind the characters all have different little pieces from lore that they pull from, and it definitely has that like haunted like maze hayride kind of feel to it, like you would get, just like I said, a little bit more on the ridiculous side, like really heavily almost gory looking, not necessarily like gore specifically, but like severed limbs hanging off of things. It definitely adds a layer to those locations that they're doing a lot of things in the movie. So there aren't a whole lot of positives for this one. The acting performances are subpar at best. They didn't really pick anybody who's well known, somebody who could really anchor the film and make it something believable or watchable. A lot of these characters put in, like I said, subpar, some all the way as far as like wooden, lifeless performances, and just kind of playing like ridiculous horror tropes and not doing them even justice. So what you've all been waiting for, with a horror movie, you're coming in looking for jump scares. You're looking for things to build tension. You're looking for terror, legitimate fright. You're looking to be scared. And this movie does not bring that. Not in any way, shape, or form. There are a couple of cringy moments with some, I would say, very, very light gore to them. And the effects for those are done fairly okay, and those moments have little minutia of tension, but the lead-ups to them don't have that same level of tension you're looking from a really high quality horror film. The music does its best to try to make up for some of the shortcomings, but the actual antagonist character, I believe in the credits it's called The Other, doesn't have a good punch to it. It's your typical slow-moving horror antagonist, and it just doesn't work that well. There are other movies that have done it better, way before this. A great example is On My Shirt. This is definitely no Michael Myers. You're not running into something that's going to be iconic later down the line. You're not going to see this along the sides of Ghostface or Leatherface or any of the other faces. You're not going to see this particular masked character up along the side of those things. Overall, I would give this movie a 5 out of 10. It's not something that I'm going to see again. I'm not really interested to see if there's any other little nuance to the film itself. One showing was enough for me. It's just, it doesn't have that impact or that ability to provide any legitimate terror for its audience.
If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. We give you multiple videos every single week. And we have t-shirts available if you're interested in those as well. Those are available down in the description below. We hope you'll follow us into the Vortex. We'll see you next time.